The beginning was crazy. I put it out on SoundCloud, and then we had sent the record to a guy in Australia. A week later, nothing. And all of a sudden, one random Monday, I get a text, and it was like, this is #1 on Triple J. This is #1 on Nova. And this is a different continent. So in America, I don't know if people really know the record. During the Grace tour in 24, there was a strange but also strong identity shift. Last year with the fires and everything, it came through and kind of both metaphorically and physically.
You were displaced from the fires.
You were displaced, yeah. So I was in the spirit. I was moving, and I think moving around and having movement, both, playing music in the clubs and also making it while I was moving, it just connected for me that this particular project, the main mission was just to make people move.
It's Powertools, and we got ZHU in the house. How are you doing, my man?
I'm good, man.
It's really, really good to have you. I know you don't do a lot of interviews, so this is really amazing to really get to chop it up with you. I mean, you've released 5 amazing albums. You're about to drop your 6th album with MIDAS. You've had collabs with Skrillex, Tame Impala, Luna, Wax Motif. The list goes on. You've remixed Gorillaz, Migos, Portugal. You're Grammy nominated, which is amazing. I want to go back to the beginning of ZHU to really get to understand how you developed your artist, how you fell in love with dance music. What was that moment for you? What was that? Did you hear a song or something that really spoke to you? What was that moment for you?
I think there was 3 pretty distinct moments for me. One was seeing deadmau5 in the Sahara at Coachella, Justice at Hard, and then being able to follow Swedish House Mafia's story.
Right.
And I think they all have different meanings to me in terms of how it influenced me, but I think dance music at those times was very visceral.
Right.
And it was fresh.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, those are three really, really key moments, man. That's really, really dope. And I can and they're all kind of a little different too. So I can see how you're taking in different things, right?
Yeah.
And when at this point in time, is this when you were at USC in the music program? You were going to these events?
Yeah, so I mean I grew up playing keys. I played brass, I played the trombone, and so the music I grew up listening to, was hip-hop, it was Bay Area hip-hop, it was bands like Linkin Park, Fall Out Boys, stuff like that, and also R&B. Big kind of, and
Bay Area is all about the funk.
Yeah, man. And the funk, and so it was a combination of a lot of stuff, and I was playing instruments, jazz, and kind of just improv. The idea of just free flowing and playing with other people was a big element in how music was for me. It was a thing it was communication with other people.
Right. Let's take a step back. How did you started playing those instruments? Was that something your parents suggested? When did that start? You were 5, 6, 7?
Key, I think it probably is just the Asian mom thing. No, but I'm really glad. And I told my mom this, she was like, oh, you never really fully like to go into classes. I was like, I love playing. I just didn't love playing other people's music. I would take a piece of music, read it, reinterpret it, and I was like, I would change these things and I would change those things. I don't exactly want to play it the way they wrote it.
Right.
So later on, I was able to write myself and take the feeling of the things that I love from, at that time, like classical music, Chopin and stuff like that. And I realized, okay, I like these chords. I like the feeling of these things. I like the minor things. And I was able to take that into later what, was technology.
Right.
That allowed us to make something and then connect it with the world, right?
That's incredible. And what did you take away from being at USC in the music program? What did you take away from there that you applied, to today, to your artist project? What did that help show you?
To be honest, college is about making mistakes, and I think you get to really understand how to balance life, going to class, being with friends, being out, exploring new things, understanding other people's tastes, sharing different things, ideas, and I think that's the most beautiful place about allowing young adults to exchange ideas. Without that, I don't think there would be that developmental process.
Right.
In anything, music or any other interest that you might have, is to be able to get challenged and challenge others and find a way to identify your own kind of point of view and perspective.
Was the ZHU project, did that start while you were there?
So I was, I told my dad, because the last semester, I was like, I have enough credits. I just need some time.
Right.
And I said, this is what I want to do. I have a plan, and I see where this can go if I'm able to express myself. And I started to make beats for other artists and things of that like that in the beginning, and go maybe do some writers camps, but all that was just to prepare me for ultimately writing my own stuff.
Right.
Because people passed on all my demos.
Right. Of course.
That's
that always happens at the beginning.
Yeah.
Nobody hears it.
And it wasn't until, going to raves that I saw, okay, a person who makes this music is able to now get up there and play it and make it come to life.
Right.
And that was when it really connected. I was like, oh, you don't need a band, or you don't need a symphony, or you don't need all, it's like you and an idea.
Right. Yeah. And you don't have a bunch of gatekeepers like when you're writing songs for other people, for them to like it.
Exactly.
Their manager has to like it.
Right.
The label has to like it. You like it. You find the home. Even you could put it out yourself.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's the beauty.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. And then when you dropped Faded, and I think that was either your first or second release, I mean, that blew up quick. We rinsed it on Powertools when it came out. We rinsed the Hunter mix when it came out recently. When did you realize that song was connecting? Because it was one of your first songs, right? So you don't know the difference between, this is massive. But when did you realize, like, oh, this is really something?
Yeah, it was crazy. The beginning was crazy. I just remember at that time, I put it out on SoundCloud. And then we had sent the record to a guy in Australia to kind of, we were like, hey, we think that it seems like people there really like it. What can happen? Right. And then a week later, nothing. And all of a sudden, one random Monday, I get a text, and it was like, this is #1 on Triple J. This is #1 Nova, and this is a different continent. So in America, I don't know if people really know the record.
Right.
And it wasn't really until 6 months later that I'm driving down the street and somebody else pulls up in a car with the windows down.
And you hear the song.
It comes, and I'm like, okay,
it's clicking.
It's clicking. Yeah.
That's amazing. Now, were you ready for that type of success once the record hit? Because when you have a hit young in your career, when you look back at it now, were you ready for that moment at that time?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's really ready.
Right.
That was like the first thing, and it was like hitting a home run off the bat. and then trying to figure out, okay, like, where do I go from here? Do I maintain? Do I sustain? Do I pivot? And I always knew that projects and albums, they were important to me, so I never really try to chase hits.
Right.
I love hits.
Right.
Who doesn't love hits?
No, but you could chase. I mean, you get the taste of it. It happened early in my career. You get the taste of that hit, and then you start chasing it. Like for me, it took like 3 or 4 records before I had to say, okay, stop chasing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But you're able to identify that right away.
Yeah. Well, you know, you learn by making mistakes. Right. You learn by trying, and at that time, even understanding kind of what type of record it was, and it was a club, but also crossover pop record, and it was a cultural record, and that I didn't really fully understand that until later, because until I was touring around the world, I didn't know, oh hey, like people really are singing along to this.
Yeah, it's impact.
Yes.
Right. And what's crazy to me is that like that record dropped at like the height of EDM, like EDM's popping off. That doesn't sound like EDM.
Right.
Like it's the complete opposite. Like what made you in that creative level? Was it more like, I'm not liking all this stuff, I have to do something opposite? Or was there like a deep house vibe from the past where you're like, I'm messing with this?
I mean, I think it was definitely different.
Right.
Definitely different. And you know, I didn't necessarily set out to say, oh, I'm going to write the most opposite song of what's going on. I just felt like, you know, from the stuff that I was going to and the things that I was interested in listening to, and some of the deeper stuff at that time, you know, from kind of, you know, like, even like Giberado and like, you know, Deep Dish, and Sasha, you know, just listening to like more of the Euro stuff. I kind of wanted to make a bit of a moodier record.
Right.
And I thought that, you know, if you take away all the lights and pyro and confetti and LED screens, like, and you just had music, you know, what would actually penetrate.
Right.
Because really, at the end of the day, if you close your eyes and just use your ears, that's all you really have to judge.
Right.
You know?
Right. Is that why you kind of, when you started performing, like, was more like behind everything because you just wanted people to kind of close their eyes and just kind of hear the music? Is that why you kind of, at the beginning, I guess, when was that idea conceived?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a big reason for it. I wanted to make sure that, you know, people were focused on the music.
Right.
And then they were, you know, became interested in kind of what I was doing and how I was able to present my art. And definitely, I just feel like when you take away things, it makes the main ingredient stronger.
Right. No, you're right. You get to focus on the main ingredient.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like if you take away phones at a party, people are actually going to interact with each other.
Yeah.
They're actually going to dance and move a little more than just put their phone and get that, you know, that one shot. Yeah, you're right. When you take away the ingredients, you can focus on the main thing. I mean, you know, what's interesting is I actually thought at the beginning of your career you were Australian because of all the success. I kept like, oh, this record's like going crazy in Australia. I just assumed you were Australian, and then when I found out, like, why, he lives in LA? Really? That's crazy. Now, you've released some incredible albums. I mean, everything from Generation Y to Ringo's Desert to Dreamland to Grace, then the Musical Chairs mixtape. Now, you're dropping your 6th album, Black Midas. You're coming back to the dance floor, which I love. Talk to us about what really inspired this shift to come back and focus a little more on the dance floor, a little more on the clubs. Was that inspiration from you touring? Where is this coming from?
Yeah, I think there was a moment during the Grace tour in 24, which I had my band, and we kind of had brought a lot of live music into the dance space, but we were playing huge venues, and looking out, there was a strange but also strong identity shift. I could tell some shows people came, they wanted to dance, and I can tell other shows they came and they just waited to hear a song or two.
Right.
And I realized, okay, this is it's my job to make them understand the history and where I came from, and also the culture in which the music had. And last year with the fires and everything, it came through and kind of both metaphorically and physically, like
you were displaced from the fires.
You were displaced, yeah. So I was in the spirit. I was moving, and I think moving around and having movement, both playing music in the clubs and also making it while I was moving, it just connected for me that this particular project, the main mission was just to make people move.
Right.
Yeah. And that's something that it's a real simple thing. And I thought this entire journey of me making these records, many of which were like super conceptual, I was like, all right, let me just break it down to some real primal shit.
That's what I took when I listened to the album. That's what I took. It was very stripped down, very minimal, but like effective, and everything made you it made you want to move.
Good, yeah.
Which is dope.
Yeah.
One of my favorite songs on the album is Burn, and I think you did that with a Canadian artist, Joy. Joya. Yeah. Talk to us about the inspiration of Burn.
Yeah, so I love R&B. I've always tried to find a way to make R&B a bit more up-tempo, and give and bring soul to up-tempo records while still keeping it kind of moody and dark. And her voice is great, and she kind of does a lot of just the sultry stuff. My kind of favorite art. Voices growing up, Sade, Aaliyah, and there's just something about a soulful touch with tempo. Like, I can't describe, and whether that was Whitney at one point or Donna something. I mean, it just has a certain pocket, and that record for me was this rhythmic but also melodic fusion, and I think it was just came at a time where it just felt good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, did you guys get in the studio to do that together? Is this something you guys shared files?
Yeah, this one is not. I haven't been to Toronto in a minute, but yeah, she's from Toronto, and the original song, I heard her voice, and on a much slower record, and then we were kind of going back and forth with different ideas, and this one, I made the kind of loop of the beat, and then I was like, okay, cool. There's a concept, the hook was like burn. And I was like, can you write a verse and a pre? And I gave her a little reference, and then she just sent back one take, and
nice,
great. A lot of times, like I'll write the song, or I'll write the melodies, and I'll leave the lyrics open, or I'll just be like, this is the idea. But with her, I think she just knew exactly where she wanted to go.
Yeah, she got it. Another one of my favorite tunes on the album is Levels, and you did that with the homie Hunter, and that's definitely a little more of the harder dark edge, which I really really love. Talk to us about collabing with Hunter on Levels.
Yeah, no, Hunter, he came through with the remix of Faded. He had been sending me records for a minute, and then I was with Wax one day, and he was like, yo, Hunter, you gotta he has this thing, check it out, send me some music. And then his remix of Faded came through, and I was like, okay, this is like, this is the speed that like
Right.
I'm playing, these warehouses and these,
Yep.
these kind of parties. And I had this record that I got from the South African artist GC that was way different, slower, more like trap. And I sped it up, and I took the vocals, and I made a bit more of this like melodic techno, tempo thing.
Right.
And I showed it to Hunter. I was like, yo, I just need you to,
do your thing, get it there.
Get the bass
Right.
loud. And had to make sure it's knocking. And yeah, he sent me back some files, threw it in there, and I've been playing different versions of it, but that one just like it goes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's dope. That's dope, man. And how was it like, going back to being displaced by the fires, I guess you built a studio in a van, like you're traveling around, moving around.
Yeah,
how did that influence the album?
Yeah, no, I think simplifying. I had some Bluetooth like speakers in the van, so and I love listening to music when I drive.
Right.
I feel like as an American, that's like you have to.
Yeah,
right.
Of course.
I mean, if you don't bump in the car,
right.
It's not.
Right.
Is it really a record? But it was very simple. It was my laptop, Apollo, a little one, a mic, and just beats, ideas, iPhone melodies, and just getting concepts and structures and stuff. And as I drive and I have all this like time to listen, I was able to, kind of hone in on, does it just make me want to move?
So you're writing the album while driving.
Well, I would
like at least ideas.
Ideas and like that. And then, I'll pull over somewhere, or we were doing some pop-ups last year, just kind of on a low-key level. Like Bonnaroo got canceled, we went over to Nashville, did some sessions there, popped in, did a little party, and it was kind of amazing to go from making something unmixed, unmastered, a little limiter, boom, pop over into the, a little 1,000-person thing I'm playing. Okay, does this work? Does the
so
baseline?
So you're testing the music on
okay,
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And so that was something that, over kind of 6 months of just, doing it, and it kind of reminded me of just even I know a lot of bands, like, I heard Zeppelin when they were making the first album. It was all just them playing at shows, and they were working out all the songs and the arrangement while they were playing to the audience. Right. And then they're like, okay, you got 2 weeks in the studio, and then
you have it all down. Right, because you've worked out the arrangement. Yeah. Another one of my favorite tunes on the album is 5 Star, and you did that with They.
Yeah.
Talk to us. I mean, that tune is such a vibe. Talk to us about how that song came together.
Yeah, no, Dante, he's been a close friend for a long time, from back in the Moog days, and working on his record, my record, and I'm working for it too. Him and Drew Lowe, they we kind of came up in the same time.
Right.
Them doing the R&B project, and me doing kind of more of a dance project. But Dante, he played me his album. There was one song on there that the hook was super catchy, but the song was slow. It was like 70 or 60, I was like, but give me that. And it took a couple weeks, sent me that. And I was like, okay, let me show you, this idea. And I put it at, 122, kind of at that time. I think Afro House was, was kind of had its pocket. Right. And I was kind of like, let me give you like a tribal, bouncy feeling on it. And then I wrote the hook, and started playing it, and people just, they're just 5-star.
Yeah. And then going back to, I mean, you started off as a musician playing different elements.
Yeah.
When did writing lyrics come into play and writing melodies in that whole process?
Yeah. Well, I think that's always been in the nature of how I create. I think it just wasn't until later on that people necessarily paid attention to it. And the dance floor, it's not necessarily maybe the first thing that you would look out for, unless you love the song and you were dissecting it way later on. But, growing up listening to pop music and rap music, definitely, lyrical elements.
So before Faded, you were writing full-on songs, like...
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say I had the best pen. It got better and better later as I simplified stuff. But it's important. I think it's important. The message is important. But on the dance floor, a lot of the message is the production.
Right.
So
100%.
Less is more. You don't need an entire story if you can make people feel a certain way.
Right.
So.
But also, I mean, the simplicity of just a simple hook to make you feel like you're listening to a whole song.
Right.
That's like almost the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
To be able to convey a feeling in a hook and make you feel I feel this word, I feel this word, but I can sing along to it. I mean, sometimes that's even more difficult.
It is.
Then when you can go, I have the verse to set up, here's the pre-chorus, here's the chorus.
Yeah.
You're knocking it all out in 8 to 16 bars.
Yeah. And a lot of it's tone and delivery. Sometimes I don't even know if certain words make sense, but just sounds like it feels.
Right.
And I kind of, this is when I listen to Future, I think if he ever made techno, he would be a good techno producer because it's all about rhythm and cadence. And in some ways, like, in techno and house, you have these ever evolving builds and, kind of beats and rhythms. And he's able to do that with his voice and the texture of his voice. So to me, the sound and how it sounds and the delivery is just as important as the word itself.
100%. I agree 100%, man. And now you recently just scored a new film that's like hitting the festival circuit. He Bled Neon, which is directed by Drew Kirsch, starring Joe Cole, Rita Ora, and Marshawn Lynch, which I think is dope. Talk to us about your passion for creating music for film. I mean, I know you've created for like some video games and other things. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. Well, whenever I make music, I definitely see the scene in my head. As I hear it, and sometimes it might be the dance floor being a scene. Sometimes it's out in a movie.
Right.
So for this movie, we kind of discussed tapping into some very primal things in which kind of the main character kind of loses his brother, and it's just kind of this dynamic. And I wanted to make some music that was able to kind of you could beat your chest to.
Right.
And Joe Trapanese, who I worked with, he also worked on Straight Outta Compton, and Tron with Daft Punk, and he was able to kind of score it in a traditional way where I was able to bring in some more kind of avant-garde, kind of futuristic elements from the electronic space and combine it with kind of a classical, strings and piano thing, which I thought was really
And that leads back to where you began.
Yeah.
Playing classical.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy.
Right. It's all full circle. So then when they're giving you this kind of assignment, you understand the language.
Yeah, and they were just kind of do you. And I was just kind of playing through all these kind of loops and eventually came to a batch of songs that I felt like the texture was good. And I also early on I really loved Massive Attack and Portishead and Tricky and that like
Moody,
you know, cinematic kind of super feels,
Right.
and kind of had this big emotional, you know,
right,
kind of wrench, and I always imagine that being what I would listen to, you know, in a film.
right.
So
right.
I was able to kind of exercise
dope.
part of that.
That's
Yeah.
dope. I mean, and like recently, I mean, not recently, but like you've been doing your BLACKLIZT alias and the whole party concept. Talk to us about where that idea was conceived.
Yeah. So I guess starting from a bedroom producer,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you're really just a kid who makes beats,
Right.
right? So you don't really know how to communicate the beats to people outside of, you know,
Right.
playing it for writer or artists and stuff like that. And, you know, there wasn't until I realized, oh, like people actually just want to come listen to these.
Right.
You know, as long as I was able to create an environment that made that make sense. And then little by little, as I started kind of being out and you know, kind of kicking it with more artists and DJs, and they would, you know, kind of be like, all right, come see this person DJ and come see this person throw a set. That was the first time I saw people play like long sets. You know, people like Damien Lazarus, or you know, and just go 4 hours, 6 hours.
Right. Not just the 1 hour. I'm
Yeah.
gonna bang out all my favorite songs.
Exactly.
Festival set. Right.
And play other people's
Right.
music.
Right.
Right, which is way different.
So you're experiencing sets where the DJ was telling a story,
Exactly.
and that's what you wanted to do.
Exactly. And it's a way different
Right.
Language.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. One is like, okay, this is like, let me tell you about me.
Right.
And the other one's like, let me tell you about us.
Right.
Yeah. And so that was a cool discovery, and that's kind of why I started doing that. So,
Right. That's sick, man. That's really sick. And let's talk about, you know, I feel like when you drop merch, it's not just like dropping merch. It's like it's a big part of the ZHU brand, you know.
Yeah.
Talk to us like, are you making more streetwear, or is this more of an extension of the music?
It's an extension of the music always, but I'd say this current collection it's elevated rave wear.
Right.
I'd say that it's stuff that it will help you experience the dance floor better. You know,
Right.
and that could mean from the feeling of the fabric. You put it on, you're like, cool. I could go for 6 hours and it feels great after sweating, and you know, I could still go have brunch with you know, my friends and feel completely, you know, totally.
So
clean.
you're very involved even on the picking of the fabric.
Yes, yeah. I think texture is everything. Texture, music,
Right.
texture, food, texture, clothes. You know, those are important decisions. You know, that make people really choose between what's temporary and what's a permanent wardrobe. You know?
Right.
So.
Right. That's sick, man. I mean, well, we're really excited about the new album. I mean, Black Midas. I mean, it makes you move. It's stripped down. It's raw. It's dirty. It gave me the same vibes of like, you know, when I heard Faded and I heard the first album, I'm like, all right, I get where, you know, sometimes you got to take a journey to come back, right? You know, and to be excited, you can't keep on doing the same thing over and over.
It is
and I like the journey that you've taken. I mean, what else do you got cooking for, you know, you got the album. What else you got cooking for this year? Are there going to be dates to support the album?
Yeah. So I'll be at Ultra.
Okay. Nice.
I haven't been there in a long time, so you know that is definitely going back.
Nice.
To roots.
Right. That was one of your first big performances. Was that Ultra?
Yeah, it was. You know, and that was before COVID, and so I think going back to Miami doing that, it's gonna be a nice moment. Nice. And then we'll be in Europe. We'll be in a lot of other places, and then in the fall definitely. We're going to do some big things here in the States.
Dope. Yeah. And is there a release date on the movie? Is that coming like this year?
The movie they're gonna play it at South by, and then I think that's up to the director and the producers if
Sick
to kind of do that. So
it's awesome, man. I really love what you're building, and I really love the fact that you're telling stories with longer sets. Because we need more of that. Than just the 1 hour bang, 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 bang. I think that's very, very important, man. Oh, it's awesome having you on Powertools, Joe.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Powertools.